Hello and welcome to Campaign Comrades, your favorite leftist gaming podcast. It is your monthly news recap. All the boys are here. The comrades are checking in for duty. We've
Little
each brought
newsies on our stands with our newspapers, hats, and-
extra. We've all brought in some interesting stories to just basically do a little bit of a recap on what happened in the month of February, my birthday month, folks. It was a pretty good month. There were some good releases that came out, some controversial releases. I played through 7 games in the month of February, in the shortest month of the year.
The man can't be stopped.
Yeah, to be fair, at least 3 of them were holdovers from January and earlier. Like, I'm counting Dragon Age Origins, which I had started last year, as a stream game, and eventually got fed up with it and took it off stream. And was just like, okay, this is taking too long. I'm done with this game. But I've said this before, the autist part of my brain just like refuses to put things down. It's like, I've started, I've committed.
I think you mean the auteur.
Yeah, I was gonna say like auteur, but for autism.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's like I buy into the sunk cost fallacy so hard. I can't escape that one.
Meanwhile, I'm the opposite.
Yeah, you're just like picking games here left and right. But you were playing some Control last night. How far have you gotten in Control?
Yeah, I'm moving through Control pretty well. I've gotten I was looking at the main storyline because I am kind of rushing to the end of it just to move to my next games. But
is it a side quest heavy game? I expect it to be pretty linear.
It's definitely pretty linear, but there is a decent amount of side content, additional like force powers you can unlock. Mm-hmm. And it does a lot of like the hiss are the enemy in Control, and you'll get like those timed destiny events. It kind of does that in game where like warning will pop up and you can run to an area and kill a bunch of hiss and get some additional rewards. So you can do like lots of shit, but yeah, similar like Spider-Man,
the crime,
just their crimes. Yeah. So I was doing more of that initially, but I've kind of just started mainlining the story, and I think I'm at like the 65% mark in terms of the main storyline. So I have all the force powers now.
Is it called
pretty
force powers?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what do they call? I know it's colloquially what everyone refers to them.
Probably like psychokinesis.
What do they call it? They don't really call it powers. No one's really concerned about my abilities. All the conversations are much more focused around what's happening at the Bureau of Control and like my character's driving story, which I won't spoil, even though that game's old. But
yeah, thank you for not spoiling for me, because I do want to.
Yeah, I know you want to play. It's really fun. I really enjoy it. The force powers feel so much better than Jedi. It's not even crazy.
Here's my question.
It's ridiculous.
Here's my question to you: lightsaber to your head right now, Cal Kestis or Control Lady?
I'm 100%.
Who's walking out alive?
I'm 100%.
Which redhead? Say which redhead wins?
Which redhead? Yeah, I'm taking Faden. She's so much better, and she's a good looking girl. She's a little cuter than Cal, in my opinion.
Just a little bit. Yeah. So, folks who maybe caught our stream yesterday, is a little bit of a makeup stream. Which here, let me explain why I had to postpone and make.
Yes, I want to hear this.
and then pushed off my first stream. It was a factor of 2 things. One is irrelevant and one is relevant to the podcast. So basically, Thursdays are my normal stream day. I had just a bad day on Thursday. So it started off with, I was using our new snowblower to snowblow some, like, we just like had some melting stuff that was in some newly accessible bits. So I had to just snowblow the driveway. I like completely forgot that there was this old ass fucking welcome mat in front of the door, and like the door like had never gotten cleared out, and now I learned for a good reason. Sucked up the welcome mat, and broke off the shear pins that keep the fucking auger blades moving, and so I had to like figure out how to first get it to release the mat that it ate, and then remove and replace the auger pins, and so that was frustrating. Like that was bad. But then I was also I had started my journey into Elden Ring with my samurai build, and was just beating my head against a fucking brick wall. Just like was not having a good time. I was in such a bad mood. So I was just like, I'm not going to be entertaining. I'm not going to be a lively presence for stream. So I'll just push it off, and then decided to change up. I was only like 3 hours in, so I really did not lose a whole lot. And just like now's the time to, if I'm going to switch, now's the time. I changed up from samurai to prisoner, and it just, oh my god, it's been fucking night and day. I have fully become Elden pilled, and I've like been talking to Matt all the time, like probably impeding his productivity in terms of like like, because he's also got the mental illness where it's just like like I've I'm picking at like the thing that he loves the most, so he'll just put down everything else to just send me essays on Elden Ring.
I was gonna say lowering productivity, but happiness just increasing.
Yeah, dopamine just off the chart.
I was actually insanely productive yesterday on top of all of that.
Because of the dopamine.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
I got like 8 or 9 drawings out in one day.
Good.
It was a
But yeah, so I was just like, oh yeah, it's a makeup stream. I don't actually need to play my regular game, and I'm just so like fucking engrossed in Elden Ring now that just did an Elden Ring stream last night. So I'm fully immersed. I'm there, baby. It's I've had several of the moments where it's just been like, okay, I get what what all the hype is about. I get why, like I've had those moments where it's just like I know they're not like emergent gameplay because these things are heavily curated in that sense, but it feels like oh my god, like this is just something like like, again, to use the word, that is just emerging out of nowhere. Just like when I encountered that first dragon, where it's just like I
swoops down and destroys the encampment.
I beat the boss that like that I had been beating my head against the wall with the samurai, getting nowhere. Spent like 2 hours on this stupid like easy boss using the prisoner. Like I go in, I trounce him in like one go, come out, I'm like I'm just like picturing like my guy just walking out full of swagger,
Lucky Squire.
Yeah, and then just the music swells, and the fire dragon Agheel just fucking swoops down, and he's like he shows he's the big dick in this area. He's posted up until you take him out, and I eventually got up high enough level and figured his moveset out, and eventually took him out yesterday, and haven't even made further progress since then. So it was just like, wow, such an incredible moment to just like to see the world living and breathing and changing like that was so cool. But yeah, that's enough of that. We've already had so many Elden Ring podcasts in our past.
You started this off and said this was campaign comrades, but I'm fairly certain right now we are campaign tarnished.
Yeah. I'm fully there. Like, I know we've got things coming up for the podcast as well for our gaming episodes, and I'm like ahead of the curve in that regard. But like I had originally been like, oh yeah, I'll try when I finish Link's Awakening for our upcoming Zelda episode. I'd be like, oh, I'll finally actually get into Breath of the Wild too. And I'm just realizing, no, I can't. I
tried to warn you.
I can't. I can't and shouldn't do both. So I'm just gonna be trying to mainline Elden Ring to enjoy the experience, but like I'm not gonna like. I'm going to no life it, not mainline it. I'm not going to just like go critical path only. I'm going to try to get as much out of it as I can.
That's a key distinction.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
Did we all go prisoner build? Stop. Never mind. I'm shutting this down because you know what? We're going to have to do an Elden Ring episode. So
eventually once everyone's fully played through, but at this point, yeah.
The answer was yes, though. We all went prisoner.
All right, but so
You know what I'm
that's
a prisoner of?
we know,
Yes, you are.
our
Yes, you
first
are.
story. Yeah, they've got his balls under lock and key. So what do you
My
got for
year
us?
is just gonna be spent in so many hours in like 2 games.
Yeah, just the anticipation is palpable coming through the screen here.
Just one of those things that like it was really cool to see all the rumors substantiated later on. And if you haven't picked up on it yet, I'm talking about Final Fantasy 16. And the rumors that had been that there would be an early preview at the end of February, early March, where they were going to release some gameplay, do some interviews, get some content creators in the building to get their hands on it, so they can, get the wheels of the hype machine moving. Interview Yoshi P.
Oh, they're turning. They're turning. These
Yeah.
wheels, they are turning.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who's had their hands on, obviously there's always the grain of salt that must be said before all this, that there's contractual obligations of say nice things, more or less. Like make sure you enjoy, like
Do you
make sure
want
people know that
early
you enjoyed it.
access the next time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want us to fly you out to Japan for an all expenses like week trip to play our new video game. You're gonna have to make sure that you're nice, but beyond that, the stuff that was shown just looked incredible. Like it looked like that Devil May Cry hack and slash combat, like fully realized with a Final Fantasy world over the top. I don't know if anyone else here watched any.
Well, I'm super excited for just a fully fantasy world. Like I love the sci-fi elements of various Final Fantasy games, but like
It had really jumped the shark to a certain extent.
Right. I mean, well, fucking Final Fantasy 15 has a flying car, right? Isn't the boy band's car? Can it like
to be fair,
have wings? Isn't it like a Batmobile, basically?
Final Fantasy has always been defined by having airships, and that was their nod to the airship. Okay. Because it's always a thing you get in late game that allows you to traverse the map much easier because you can just fly over everything.
Yeah.
But I do get your point that the flying car was goofy and really
I'm not saying in a bad way. I'm not
land.
saying in a bad way. No, not in a bad way. I love goofy shit. Come on.
No, it was fun to play, but like it definitely, when you watch it happen the first time, you're like, okay, they've turned their car from the prince's royal escort vehicle to a monster truck to a plane.
Hell yeah. But yeah, no, I've watched some of the footage, a bunch of the interviews. I'm excited. Like the biggest thing that excites me the most is like how they have changed and or how they're incorporating, your summons, the icons in this game. How it's no longer just like the summons are these big beasts that you literally, summon in and they fight and do these things. Instead, you fucking turn into the giant fucking beasts and you have like full on fucking, rumble matches with other icons and shit. I'm like, that's just so cool.
They showed off like this game's version of like the Devil Trigger form in Devil May Cry, so that we're gonna get lots of transformation, lots of power-ups, big numbers. They already showed it. There's you can turn it on so there's damage numbers on the screen and see the big number go up.
Well, that's classic.
That's a staple. Yeah, that's a staple of Final Fantasy, right? Okay.
Well, that and hack and slash games tend to.
Yeah.
But just personally, I cannot wait to turn into Shiva, giant ice mommy. Yes, please.
I like that they said they focused on Earfit because they felt like he'd been ignored, and I'm just sitting there like pointing at Final Fantasy 15 as he was like the main villain of that. And
yeah, interesting. I guess there are maybe some more ones that have become. I was about to say that have become more iconic, but like no, Ifrit like is in so much of all the different promotional material. It's the first one you get in the Final Fantasy VII remake, and
it's cool that they're keeping. I'm gonna butcher this name because I haven't played Final Fantasy 14, and I've only encountered her in a side quest in 15, but I think it's Garuda.
Garuda, I
Yeah,
think.
the wind icon. But it's cool to see her brought back. She was a very popular addition in 14.
Yeah, controlling the icons. Is that am I saying that right?
I
Con,
think it's just icon, isn't it? I don't know.
Icon.
you transform and it's just Akon up there.
Yeah, Akon convict music.
Soul Survivor. Matt, so like how are you gonna pick between Zelda and this with them coming out a month from each other?
Oh, that's nuts.
Well,
well, here's the thing,
He's
right?
he's
It's like,
chosen
they scratch
before.
different itches.
well, see, and I'll let you answer this as well, but like they, one thing that's also that's really vibing with me is that they're explicitly like, we're not making Final Fantasy 16
Not open
into an
world.
open world game. It is a linear experience. So I don't think it's going to be nearly as long to get through.
Yes.
But yeah, it's still, that's tough for you.
That's
we'll be
my
praying for you
perspective, is that they're
at
going to
that
scratch different itches for me, whether or not it's going to be like a straight story driven game, shorter in length, or Tears of the Kingdom, which I'm expecting to be the same level of openness that Breath of the Wild had from the start, which is going to open itself up much more. But I was able to play Breath of the Wild alongside other games, because Breath of the Wild was like my safe space. That's my Minecraft.
Zelda.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to get into it because we're gonna have an upcoming.
That's another episode
on it.
upcoming.
But like, I like, obviously, I missed out on a lot of earlier kind of main Nintendo series outside of like your Mario type games. And Zelda was one of them. And just playing through a bunch of these games for the podcast, it's like become one of my new like favorite series. It's just like it's got such a cozy atmosphere, even in the darker kind of elements.
Yeah,
it is very comforting.
Well, and you're playing the Link's Awakening remake, which is
so good.
I love that art style. I'm
good.
so sick in the fact that I just want them to take like all of the handheld Zelda games, just put them in that art style.
Sure,
Just resell them to me one at a time. I'll pay it. I'll do it.
Yep, I would buy them. I would play it.
They got me.
I'm playing Matt's copy right now of Link's Awakening, and I've ordered my own. It won't get here till after I'm done with it, but like I'm still glad to have.
I mean, it's a good game for like Harry too. At some point,
for the nephews, it's going to be a good one. That was a big reason why I got it. Yeah, but yeah, it's going to be a tough couple months for Matt. Like, I know. I mean, it's.
I mean, I'm going to be scheduling some time off for the Tears of the Kingdom weekend. Gonna probably take the Friday of arrival, maybe Monday, Tuesday, maybe make it a 5-day.
Oof, nice. Really putting in the gamer hours. We'd love to see it. Yeah, there was a there was a lot. You're in a lot of ways we're like inundated with a lot of shit coming out. Like there's a lot of outlets getting different hands-on footage and different interviews with the groups, with the developers. And I mean, before we get to the next one, because it's a good transition, but what do you take, Matt, for the contingent of Final Fantasy fans that do not like the transition to full-on action combat?
I mean, on the one hand, I understand the fact that like traditionally the turn-based combat was the thing that drew you towards the franchise. It's hard to make that shift if these more hack and slashy action style games aren't really your thing. That's always kind of hard to see. And like there's always the rumors and the stuff on the back burner of like various other of the older Final Fantasy games getting.
Well, there's the rumor
versions of remakes and remasters,
in the hope that that Final Fantasy Tactics is being remade.
Yes. And there's stuff like Final Fantasy 9 has supposedly had a remake in the works for a while that's supposed to like keep the traditional turn-based aspects.
So was 15 wasn't turn based though, was it?
Nope, 15 is action style combat.
Okay.
But isn't it very much like the 7 remake? It's got the ATB
Yeah,
type
yes,
shit.
more
So
or less.
that is action combat with some things that have essentially boiled down to quote unquote turn based. They're not turns. It is more like
It slows
issue
time down to
commands,
nearly
yeah,
a stop, and you can pick through some stuff.
Got it.
which I really
I mean-
liked. I like the ATB style. I like that kind of thing, and I'm a huge turn based fan. I enjoy all that stuff, but I'm cool with it.
Yeah. And for me, I definitely lean more the opposite. So like having a more action combo of the two sounds very appealing to like full combos or full action is
Also, yeah,
I mean, the
think
Final Fantasy
you'll
VII
like
remake's combat system is
is top notch.
a masterpiece.
You'll enjoy it because it does not the ATB command stuff does not
It's not intrusive at all.
Yeah, and it does not it does slow.
It really
combat
lets you
down, but
be
it does
boy
not-
swinging big sword.
Yeah,
Cool.
but you can be strategic and while still executing some really fucking cool combos and stuff like that. The one thing that maybe is going to take a little bit of getting used to for me that like I may not or I may feel like it's a bit of a loss is that your inability to issue commands to party members, with the exception of your dog companion in Final Fantasy 16.
Red 13.
Any companions are just AI. You only control Clive, the main character.
Cloud.
No, I'm talking about in 16. Isn't his name
Oh,
Clive?
okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were badly explaining 7 for a second.
No. It's like I say like
It's
whereas,
like dog companion Red 13.
No, you have a dog. You have a dog companion
Yes,
in
yes.
16, and he's the only one that you can give commands to. Otherwise, it's just you've got AI,
Yes.
companions, and you can't do anything like.
And
So like in
that's
7,
kind of
you
how
can issue orders and take control of them. You can't do either of those.
That's kind of how it worked in 15, where you never could take control of the other party members.
Okay, but could you do commands though? Like, could you give them ATB commands?
Maybe I think each of them had one. It was like like Guardians type thing.
Okay, which I enjoy.
But it's
that
been
style of
a little
combat.
bit.
Before we move on, Matt, on us, where do you put this one in terms of how hot the characters are? Because they're all pretty hot.
They're looking pretty sexy.
We're doing a hot or not of the Final Fantasy universe.
Tier list time.
Yeah, they're looking pretty sexy.
I mean, yeah, this is definitely some top tier Square Enix character design.
Yeah, the baddie got me. She's got some fire.
The bad guy in 15, Arden. If you look him up, he's got some sunder to him.
The guy who controls the icon for is it Titan?
Yes.
In this one, he's just a big hunk of beef, shall we say?
Beefo.
But he looks like a really jacked up beefy version of Jack from
yes.
Stranger in
Yes, he
Paradise
does.
is really what he looks like.
Yeah, interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised if
I'm waiting for the crossover
baseline of that model. Yeah. But yeah, so the various interviews that Square Enix did for this marketing push for Final Fantasy 16 led to my first story choice of the episode was coming from YouTuber Skill Up's interview with Yoshi P, where he basically pissed off the legendary creator by referring to, he asked a question about how JRPGs had or hadn't advanced as a genre, and Yoshi P was just like, took that and was like, he's talking about, I think totally understandably, why he and plenty of other developers from Japan still have hard feelings about the term JRPG, and felt like it was a derogatory term, and it was a unnecessarily kind of othering idea of these games. It's like that
I mean,
basically
I can see the argument in the sense that
Yeah.
like I used it the other day when I was talking about like Eurojank.
yeah.
Like it kind of it can carry that similar connotation.
I think, I don't know, Ben, if you have more to add there, I do think it's probably, I think it's more become a term of endearment, but I definitely think it probably started out more of a negative.
Oh,
way.
it's a Japanese RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
it was a way of saying that these things are fundamentally foreign and are again, that they are other than us. And like Yoshi P says, like we were just out to create RPGs, right? Like
Yeah.
of course these things have like their
Different style.
unique cultural style
Yeah.
to it, as any form of art or creative project is going to reflect the culture, society, values of the creators. That's of course going to happen, and they're going to have this distinct feels that sure can create a subgenre, which is most people now. And I think it is both things can be correct, right? That it was initially a is like basically a derogatory type term that was used to silo off. It's like, oh, these aren't real RPGs. It what like because language matters like that, right?
Mhm.
What we say when you put that J in front of it and make it JRPG, you're insinuating that the Western RPG, that thing
Is
is
the
Superior.
true
is
RPG.
is the real and true way to do it, and that these are pale imitations or are weird fixations or are fan edits or whatever, that they're just not, that it's not the real thing. So I totally get it.
Whereas in
And
my brain, I'm like, I think of it almost as the opposite at this point. Like that's the
ARPGs are
they're
where
the
the good
masters.
it's where the good stuff's coming. It's where all
Yeah.
the good stuff's coming from. A good Western
Yes.
RPG is hard to find. Absolutely. Like I was like following, it's like a Jeff Grubb tweet, and let me see if I can find it. He was basically like talking about how like you will hear other additions to the term, like you know ARPGs or
Yeah.
CRPGs or whatever. Let me see if I can. I don't know that. Probably it's in my likes somewhere because I thought it was good.
Yeah. I know exactly the tweet you're talking about
Because I
with the
replied,
CRPG
yeah, because
stuff.
I replied to it. So that actually might be the better way to find it. Bear with me here as I scroll through. So yes, the reason that JRPG has stuck around as a term and CRPG hasn't is because JRPG is a cool thing that people like and build their identity around, while CRPG sounds like nerd shit.
Yeah, that's
And I said,
that's perfect.
and I was just basically just like, and because this is true, I personally see CRPG used all the time in the various media circles that I like
Yeah.
have immersed myself in. But that is because I'm in fact a huge fucking nerd.
But like, I do think it has gotten to that point where it does mean like a cool, like it's a positive now. Like that is one of the most active type of fan bases out there, in my opinion. It can definitely be toxic, but I think those people who are talking about JRPGs and using that term are generally enormous fans of the genre at this point, as opposed to saying negative things about it.
Yeah, but I could see how being from Japan still having
still
that
absolutely
that understanding or that feeling, whereas we in America in the West, using
it's
it
also
that
kind of
way
like that thing
doesn't
where
really
it's
matter.
like here it's Japanese food, but if you go over to Japan, it's just called food. You don't ask them for Japanese food.
Yeah.
This like you shouldn't go like over there and be like what's it like making JRPGs when to them all they're doing is just making,
RPGs.
the same thing with their twist.
I was also like, I mean, in replies to those tweets, WAPO journalist Gene Park was, commenting on it, as a person of Asian descent, he has, some authority to speak on these things, and also someone in the industry, like, say that here's the thing is like we in the podcast weren't around, and involved in even remotely tangentially related to the industry as we maybe are now. That it was a term that arose from journalists, and from journalists who, exclusively white journalists who were using it as a critical term,
Yes.
that its origins were not good. It was particularly made to the point that Yoshi P is kind of asserting here. So he is correct, even though it's not where it has gone, because yes, language does evolve. It doesn't mean that that they're not right to still be, understandably kind of sour about it and pissed about it. Like, I think it's justifiable. It then created a whole
It's totally fair.
It has created a whole fucking discourse though that we don't need to wade through, but it's there's been a whole bunch of Gamergate people kind of jumping in on it and making it pretty kind of annoying. But yeah, so even Yoshi says he's aware that the term has better connotations now. It's used as a positive, but still, like, the memories are still too fresh, and that it's clear that he does not love the term. So let's I think we can pretty much abide by, Japanese creators don't like it, then maybe don't use it, particularly with Japanese creators. Yeah, they're just role-playing games, folks.
We can respect that.
Yeah.
We can respect pronouns. We can respect this ask.
I think so. It's a. Go ahead.
Won't hear me complaining about not having to call them that anymore. One less letter saves me a lot of time in texting over the course of my life.
I was going to say, from Matt's favorite RPG that comes from the country of Japan to my favorite RPG that comes from the country of Japan. We had some major Pokemon news coming out at the end of this month that also has
Pokemon
some
Sleep.
Yes, we've all been waiting for it. We couldn't get sleep without it. Now we have Pokemon Sleep.
It paints a beautiful image of Pokemon fans to me, that they need to make games to tell them to go and take a walk outside, how to get a proper night's sleep. And my personal favorite was Pokemon Smile, which was the one that taught them to brush their teeth.
Well, in order to have those fans,
when's Pokemon deodorant?
In order to have those fans continue to play the regular Pokemon games, you have to make sure they're somewhat healthy.
I mean, you give them some props. Yeah, it's like, we need to give them some bit of heart health in order for them to be able to survive long enough to keep buying the slop that we give them.
Yeah, come on.
And that is actively damaging their physical and mental health.
Pokemon therapy.
Yeah, no, exactly. They're buying better help.
Pokemon
is there a therapist Pokemon? I know there are like nurse Pokemon.
No, I think just like nurse Pokemon. I mean, wow. I guess in the Pokemon world,
you were set up for a Vaporeon joke there, and you didn't take it.
Well, I mean, I will say that, and note that there was no Vaporeons in the Pokemon Sleep commercial, although there were a lot of Pokemon in bed with humans.
Yeah, you were saying that in the chat. Yeah, it's like they knew that they were playing a dangerous game there.
Yeah. I wonder if Vaporeon is even available in Pokemon Sleep. But I mean, other than some of the Pokemon announcements, one of the reasons that I brought up Pokemon Presents is there were leaks that had happened just prior to the actual event, that the leaks in and of themselves, via Pokemon Presents, were completely on point. And And one of the additional leaks that or additional information that was offered in that leak, and the leak came from a source that I don't have pride in saying the words, but it came from 4chan. And this is like the second.
Say like 4chan has a lot of video game stuff.
Yeah.
They're
a lot of Pokemon users.
I mean,
Well, this was not a
crossover
a lot of
for
leaks
for
come from
4chan incel and video game incel is not. It's a circle.
So
it's a circle.
Yeah. The Venn diagram is a circle.
So this leak came from a contractor, that's part of another company, not Nintendo, that's contracted by Nintendo to work on parts of the Pokemon games. And so he verified pretty much everything related to Scarlet and Violet that we got from the Pokemon Presents, and this is what this guy was working on, is Scarlet and Violet, parts of that game. And so information about the DLC was on point. The event raids that were released immediately were exactly on point. And one of the other things that was contained in those leaks was that with the second DLC, and because there's language barriers, there's disagreement, because it was like auto translated, AI translated from whatever his native language was, whether it meant the second DLC in this package that was released with Pokemon Presents, or a second DLC package coming later, that they are working on upscaling and like an update for Scarlet and Violet to be compatible with the next generation Switch console that's going to release with the second DLC. So again, whether it's the second part of this first DLC package, meaning probably there's been, part of the issue with Pokemon Presents is there was 2 dates given for these DLCs. One saying that the first part will be released in fall, the second in winter of 2023. The other one saying winter and then spring of 2024. So no, can't really pinpoint exactly a timeline, but they are already working on upscaling, this game, which it seems that Pokemon is going to stick with for at least a couple years, for a next generation, not a Switch like OLED model or anything, just a completely next generation console from Nintendo.
That means that like, you said they're sticking with, Scarlet and Violet. They're not going to do another with their release schedule. You'd think that they would put out another one, by that time, that they would just, finish. Okay, this one is, the last one on the.
I mean, they may
Switch hardware. Let's do another one.
They may put out like remakes of other games, but it would be, we're stuck with Generation 9 Scarlet and Violet probably for at least another 4 years, or 3 years, similar to Sword and Shield. And they'll just put DLC packages, and that's part of the reason there's rumors that there will be a completely separate and second package of DLCs that will come probably at least spring of 2024, and that would be when with that release of that DLC content, there will be the new console being released as well.
That's the part I find most dubious about this, is the insinuation that the launch is essentially paired with a DLC, which they would never use as the big push.
Oh,
I think it would just be an additional thing.
Yeah, it wasn't saying that like the DLC is going to be the Breath of the Wild. It wasn't saying that. It was just like Pokemon is going to release the DLC once the new console comes out. And they're already upgrading Scarlet and Violet for that.
That also just feels kind of like a safe leak, because like at this point it's inevitable that there's another console coming in the next year or two.
I mean, sure, it just gave
based on timing.
My thing was like it gave us some grain of salt, of information
more
to
than we've
tie
really
it
kind of
to.
seen before.
Yeah, and it's been, these leaks have been credible from this guy,
Yeah,
and
the
there's
rest
been
of them have
more.
been verified.
Yeah, the rest have been verified. There was another one as well, that I haven't gotten to look into as much, but I don't think it's been verified as much as this one. But yeah, just again the fact that Pokemon is sticking with it. It's going to get crossed over into the new generation. And then one of the other things that stuck out to me with that was backwards compatibility. I don't think that we're going to see the jump in cartridges from the 3DS to the Switch, where it wasn't compatible there, and obviously there was technical reasons why that couldn't happen. But it seems that in this leak, he was making certain to say this is not a like OLED upgrade to the Switch. It's a completely next generation console, and presumably Pokemon Scarlet and Violet cartridges are going to be compatible. So meaning all Switch games will be compatible, whether it's two separate slots or the same slot. We are going to get that tradition of Nintendo's backwards compatibility on their consoles that we lost in the DS to Switch jump.
The Switch is just so popular.
Well,
that,
the DS and
would...
Switch weren't really a jump; they were separate product lines, is how they were viewed. The 3DS's death was the death of their handheld dedicated line, is essentially how they're going about things right now.
I'm saying it would piss off way too many people to not have, because the Switch is just such a popular and widely adopted.
What's it at? 122 million units?
Yeah, right around there.
Something
it's something that I expected.
There's no way that they would not. Yeah, it's like
but it was just like this is confirmation.
We're too close. Well,
it also means
to that jump where
they can sell the new console with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Switch Edition.
Yep.
Bundles.
Mm-hmm.
Never getting another
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Plus on Switch 2.
And I think, that timing also would mean, from a console cycle perspective, that they start with, a pretty legendary, if not one of the most legendary Zelda games, and then end with the sequel as like the last big release for the Switch.
It's a nice bookend. It's a nice book ending.
It really is.
You don't typically get 2 Zeldas per console. It's very rare. Usually when you do, it's because of crossover. So like technically Breath of the Wild was the Wii U's last game as well. Because
they made a Wii U version?
Yeah, it was a cross-console game.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yep. It ran like shit on the Wii U, because the Wii U runs like shit. But
did you ever own the Wii U, Matt?
No, I never owned the Wii U.
I didn't think so. Well, what did the U stand for in Wii U? I never
see that. It was bad marketing, is what it stood for, because it confused too many people on how it like related to the Wii. Because a lot of people thought it was just like an add-on.
Yeah.
And it was a whole.
I thought it was an add-on for a while.
It had backwards compatibility with the Wii, so like it does. To wrap it back to what. Like Nintendo has a history of their home consoles and their handheld consoles all having some form of at least early life cycle backwards compatibility. Because like the DS originally had the Game Boy Advance slot, but I think it was the DS Lite was the next one, or the DSi, one or the two. Dropped the slot.
They're so bad with regular game preservation that they have to do at least something,
Because the only console that didn't
completely abandon all their game library.
The only home console that didn't have true backwards compatibility was the GameCube.
Yep.
And that was because
cartridge to disc, to the mini disc.
And like you could play Game Boy games on the GameCube, so that's something.
Speaking of Game Boy, though, the biggest disappointment for that
there's no Game Boy Pokemon
was
on NSO.
No.
People were upset with that. There was a lot of things wrong with the Pokemon Presents. That was one of them. That was a huge expectation that was.
They showed something about the trading card game one though, right?
That was the
Yeah,
first
that-
thing.
that-
They're
that
going
came
back to
out already.
classic. They're going back to classic Pokemon card game stuff, and they're going to be releasing new sets.
No, but
I thought
they
it was
did they did
Game
the
Boy
game.
game
Yeah,
because there was
it
they
is.
showed that in the NSO trailer for Game Boy.
Yeah, that's on there, and that came out before Presents, or at least was Nintendo said it was going to do it. I don't know if it actually was live at that point, but so that was missing the game, the Game Boy games being on there.
Pokemon Stadium's on it now, right?
Pokemon Stadium is on
Oh
there.
hell yeah!
Which I want to play that. It's multiplayer. On the
Yes,
Switch
I will
online.
play
I
that.
would love to.
Are you
play
sure
that.
it's on there?
It
I
is.
thought I saw that it's upcoming.
No,
March. I think the date I saw was March 9th.
Okay, that's imminent. That's
Okay.
imminent.
Yeah.
When you were like texting like, oh, we should play Stadium, I googled it and it looked like it said it's upcoming.
Well, whatever. It's very soon or there
Yeah,
already,
imminent.
but regardless,
if it's March 9th, it's in a few days.
And then the other thing that was missing was it was actually crazy, and this goes to reporting around Nintendo and Pokemon. We know that you're going to get home compatibility with Scarlet and Violet. It's been said spring 2023 that we would get it. That's on the same timeline that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl got it after their November release. So there was so much reporting about like news about Pokemon Home. We got news about Pokemon Home and Pokemon Presents. The news was they changed it from spring 2023 to early 2023. And no one knows what the fuck that means, whether that is earlier than spring or later than spring.
I think early gives them the cutoff date of everything before 50% of the year.
Yeah, well, that's what some people are saying, but like, there's some people in the community that are convinced that it means like by the end of this month, like the first quarter of
early means anything before December 31st.
Yeah, they would say quarter if they meant it.
Yeah, or just give us a date at this time. So I don't know what their ploy is. I don't know why.
I thought the other news was
just
that
some regular
Pokemon
Pokemon
Stadium connection. They like removed that.
I did see that too. Yeah, people are mad about that.
I wasn't surprised that they did that though.
I'm surprised that people are not just playing with the random Pokemon, level 50 Pokemon that they give you in Pokemon Stadium. It's just easier.
No, it's transferring Pokemon out of Pokemon Stadium because there was like exclusives and shit that people want to have in the new games.
They can put more of their nostalgia into Game Freak's palm of their hand.
The
Matt, second you stop paying,
you made this
away from you.
You made
Take
this
your
joke,
childhood away.
or like you made this joke in the group chat. This was when they first announced the Game Boy emulators and what they had present. This was even before the announcement for the Pokemon Presents. So like people are like, yeah, there's some good games here, but like, why are you not? It just seems obvious. Why would you not put some, OG Pokemon on there? That would get people trying that out in droves. Signing up for the expansion pass. If you put it on there, that would be huge, right? But Matt made the joke that it was just like, there's the putting the conspiracy hat on. It's just that Game Freak is not going to allow them putting the actual good games on to remind people what a good game actually was.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Because that would keep them playing the new shit and buying the new DLC.
Though there are rumors
and doing new raid battles because now he's got a new hat.
with the DLC in Scarlet and Violet, there's a chance that we're going to a different region, a la second gen Johto to Kanto. So that's exciting. And also,
I just love the difference in the discourse between the Pokemon community and their DLC and the Souls community and the Elden Ring DLC, where we're all just bowing down to this still image and just.
But yeah, it's totally the Chad and Virgin stuff. Like, here's here's.
I didn't want to be. I made you the crying Wojak.
Yeah, here are the different clothes and all that stuff, and just like yes, we announced a DLC. Here's a still picture, and say nothing else, and watch everyone go wild. But yeah, it's funny. It's good.
Right.
You know what? So you know what's not funny is Andrew, your story here
Yeah.
as we're becoming more and more PC gamers here on the channel.
Yeah, so the state of PC ports. So we got an article from Wes Fenlon at PC Gamer. PC gamers are getting fed up with one shitty port after another. And I don't know that we need to run through all the intense details of this piece, which really does a good job of summarizing a lot of the issues we've seen as some of these major games have gotten PC ports over the last 2 years or so. But for me, I thought this was like a really interesting article that kind of helps describe, from my perspective, the state of the gaming industry as a whole, where we continue to see more extractive strategies from these companies and get shittier games in the meantime. And so
You also
what
have
Wes
a bigger influx of studios designing console first, PC second now,
yeah,
which
Which
is
is
not
weird.
is
Which
not
is
the
weird
case
to
that it's
me.
always been.
Well, yeah, because it's weird to me, right? Like, in a lot of in a lot of the media and stuff, you get the sense that PC gaming is more niche, yet it is such a larger market. The console share is still so much smaller, but the media concentration around console is higher. Therefore, it results in the investment. It's a vicious circle. It's just like that the media,
Because
the investment in it is just gonna prioritize console, and I don't really know
there's
why. It
whole
doesn't make
stuff around
financial
like
sense to me.
I don't remember if you remember the Elden Ring launch back February last year,
Yeah, I remember PC
where
was the one that really had some issues.
where Sony had the best running version of the game, and
delusion.
PC struggled because it turned out that Sony had directly given the From Software team PS5 dev kits early so that they could keep everything flowing and build it together that way.
Well,
And
another
you're
go
getting
ahead.
that in the indie sphere too. Especially Nintendo has dipped their finger a lot into helping indie studios by providing them the Switch dev kits and stuff for free on their end. So that's why you've seen a lot of indie games go Switch PC first. But
Yeah, you do see that trend. That is interesting.
it's mostly just around I think console manufacturers have started to sniff on if they can get the better running version first, that you'll get more people who will buy the consoles so that they can have the games running better first and not waiting for
I don't know.
PC patch 4 weeks later to get something.
Yeah, but I don't know if necessarily the market as a whole are people that are concerned with that that as a distinction and and a reason for their choice in gaming. Like I don't think necessarily normies.
PC gaming is very intimidating for a lot of people.
Yeah,
Having
I
to
would
go
agree.
in there
I
and
would
wait
agree with
4 weeks
that.
to get a game playable and patches is not a.
But I would agree with, I think the point that you're making, Mike, is that like the majority of the people who are going to be buying consoles buy it because it is easier. It's
Yes.
plug and play.
Yeah.
There's less finagling to do. So someone is not who is going to be drawn to that is not even going to be paying attention to technical performance.
Exactly.
They're not even going to be looking
It's
at the articles for
access.
like, yeah,
Yes,
okay,
but the technical
access
performance also
first.
adds to that plug and just put the game in and it works and they can
Sure,
play
but
it.
what I'm just saying is like I don't think that that is a consumer choice or like that is something on the average consumer's mind in making the choice to go console over PC. I think that's just ancillary that comes with it, and that's like an added bonus for them. But I don't think that that is they're making that conscious decision based on that information.
Fair. I can understand
Your
that.
average consumer, like, and especially your average console consumer that is looking for some level of just plug and play. And Matt, I think you're right that adds into that plug and play, and maybe that is like a part of the collective idea of plug and play to them. But their choice isn't bored out on that. distinction.
It's also just easier on the development side because everyone has the same exact hardware, same exact spec, so you get the same exact experience on every machine.
Yeah, I think you
and
explained
you don't have people who are running 12-year-old processors and GPUs that are held together with toothpicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Scotch
standard
tape.
of technology when it comes to the consoles.
Which is, and that's the other part of this that I found alarming. And I think like looking at the future of the industry, like where Microsoft wants to push is to everyone being more of a PC gamer / using their Game Pass whenever we get the USB stick that'll run it on your TV. And I think that's where this really starts to alarm me.
You can already run it on a bunch of Samsung TVs.
No,
All
absolutely.
the new Samsung TVs have Game Pass built right in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but like
that's
their model that they're going towards is like, I don't even think it's necessarily PC, Andrew. I think it's just the streaming.
I mean, that's
model.
just server farms because they just want everything to be on their servers.
Yeah.
Right.
And they just want you to have a stream connection in.
Yep.
But where that's alarming is that these ports that are now coming out are so unoptimized that like unless you have the most expensive rig, you're not getting the PC experience you used to get.
Case.
Yeah,
there's more than enough games that have launched now in the past year and a half that if you had, a 3090 and a 12th gen i9, you still were having issues, maintaining a 60 frame per second experience.
You've been decrying it a lot as we've been like posting these things in the chat as we keep up with them, Matt, that like, as like, we're like Warhammer fans here. The Warhammer games have been so fucking bad. Like that's a perfect example of like the Dark Tide game. Like my machine is not like super, super high end, but it's pretty powerful.
But it's new and it's pretty strong for new.
Yeah. And it would my PC would struggle to play Dark Tide at above medium settings. It would struggle that. If Andrew tried to play it on his laptop, it would probably explode.
Yeah. And that's my concern is like as we continue to see this and as the general gamer has less of a technically advanced system.
You can look at it from the conspiracy side where releasing more unoptimized games pushes gamers to buy higher end hardware.
Well, I think it the opposite. I was actually going to say the opposite. And that I think that it may end up being a push for streaming and that PC gaming goes completely towards
too hard. It's too inaccessible. It's too expensive. Just get your fucking Amazon Fire Stick and know and play your latest
because
experience.
We've seen how Xbox is out of the console race, Sony and Nintendo just like doing their own thing, especially Nintendo doing their own thing. I think
Nintendo doesn't care about
anything
else.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, 122 million reasons not to care.
No, and they have every reason to do what they're doing and keep doing it.
What is it, like 80 million copies of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold or something stupid?
Yes, it was. It's over 80 million.
But so like, not only with the issues of getting, chips and getting graphics cards, just on top of that, the performance issues and the issue to the developer of having to do it on so many different levels for so many, varying specs, that if you just go towards streaming as the other option to consoles, it's again just in one, development kit, whatever the streaming one is. You don't have to necessarily
different services will run different specs of farms.
Sure, but
what their servers will look like. But what you're saying is there would probably be a standard of like these are the server farm specs that you can run, and these are your data speed connection limits.
What we see with industry consolidation, though, those different specs are going to become narrower and narrower. Xbox is
because if you look at the Octopus,
run cloud gaming pretty much everywhere.
I was going to say, if you look at the octopus of who runs the cloud servers around the world, it's like 3 companies.
Yeah. So that is already a pretty significant standard.
And one of them is trying to make the largest tech acquisition
of all time.
Yeah. So all in all, I think highlights the concerning trend of like we're just going to get shittier made games, like they're not going to run as well, and that's where the industry is pushing things.
Or
And I
you
thought
might
this
end up
highlighted
with
that
a
pretty
weird
well.
niche like the Steam Deck, which could be like you might end up with quote unquote console PCs.
Which is Amazon is doing everything they can to advertise them to me through Instagram.
I mean, they've existed for a while now. It's just the Steam Deck has really popularized and really hit the price point right, because typically the handheld gaming PCs of the past were $1,200, $1,500,
I think we've said this.
$1,800.
Just get a PC at that point.
Yeah, and it's like, or just buy a regular laptop at that point if you need something that's portable.
But you know what? Like, where PC gaming will always have its day in the sun is in the modding community. Without PC gaming, we would never have gotten the realistic vaginas in The Witcher 3. It's not a real big story. I had to mention. I had to throw it out there.
It was a great one, though.
I mean, there's other great mod things too, like the Thomas the Tank Engine mods of Skyrim.
I've said if I ever went back to Skyrim, I would do 2 mods. I would do Thomas the Tank Engine for the dragons, and the scaling one where you can turn your Catman character into Puss in Boots.
Oh my god, I have not seen that one. That's incredible.
I said it's like you can scale different objects, so you make a cat person rogue, and you shrink him down to the size of an actual house cat. That's
now I need Antonio Banderas to do the voice acting.
You're thinking about this wrong. You need
to make it happen
an AI to rip all the Antonio Banderas
exactly
from his acting career and then string it together into coherent sentences and words and train the language creation bot.
Someone do that, please.
All right, folks. Well, I think that probably does it for us today. Any final thoughts? Any other hot gaming takes that we've got that we just got to get out now? Mine just continues to be there are too many games. There are too many games to play. Too many things that
There's
want.
Too many games to play, and now you're on that Elden weed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at least okay in that, like
I hope you're ready for that moment where you look out the window and you're like, wait, the snow's not on the ground anymore.
It's melted.
Like, you've been playing for 2 straight months.
Yeah. So like for at least the month of March and the first part of April for games that are on my radar for new releases is fairly sparse.
This is a fairly open part of the year right now.
That was why, like, I was intentional. I was like, okay, now's the time. But speaking of which, now's the time is the time for I really want to wrap up so I can go and play some more.
It's some of that lands between.
Absolutely. All right, folks. You can support us in a variety of ways. You can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/campaign comrades. If you're really feeling generous, you can connect your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime and get a sub for free. Otherwise, you can follow us on Twitter at CamConPod. You check out the YouTube. I am almost done writing my script for my Atomic Heart video that's coming out. Let me pull it up. My script, I think now is at 9 pages.
Nice.
Maybe a little bit longer.
I still need to do 60-page dissertation.
I still need to do edits.
Single spaced, size 10 font.
Okay, no, actually, it's like I was playing with fonts and stuff that I will probably like take your advice, Mike, and up the font for readability when I'm actually recording. But just at regular size 12 font, I am at just 7 pages. But I still have to do the whole story section.
Want to know what my secret was when I took my public speaking course in college? I wrote my stuff on Microsoft PowerPoint.
It's a good one.
I had targets for start and end points to go to my next slide so that I knew, like, timing wise where I should be.
That is a good one.
All right. But that is it for us. For those of you listening at home, keep on gaming. And we will see.
If you're listening to this live at home, don't forget to check out the streams, Tuesday for, the stories that didn't get the cut.
Yep, we'll be doing Uncut Comrades this coming Tuesday.
Wednesday with Andrew doing his thing. Thursday with Ben probably going back to Mass Effect, I assume.
Yeah, I'm not gonna abandon Mass Effect. I can't do it. I
And
enjoy it
then-
a lot. I'm not gonna do that.
That Saturday, you can watch the second stream of me playing Last of Us and pooping and peeing my
Yes,
pants in
yes,
fear.
Yeah, because that's I think our next episode. So we're gonna be altering our release schedule just a little bit in order for this month, just to coincide with the finale of Last of Us. That'll be our adaptation
Finale.
episode for this week, or for this month. Sorry, is the first season of The Last of Us. So yeah, Matt's getting some gaming in to properly appreciate it. But stay tuned for that. So I think we're off from recording next week, and so it'll be the week after. But till then, bye bye.